General Motors has just reported record electric car sales for the second quarter of this year. This is the same General Motors that says they're massively putting on hold their EV plans, pausing it by several years. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. General Motors has been attempting to get their EV and, well, also their full self-driving, GM Cruise, their robo-taxis as well, trying to get all of that to work. They've been trying to ramp up battery production. They've been saying that, they would outsell Tesla in 2025 in terms of EV sales. Of course, that was guaranteed on Oprah and various other shows, but I don't think anyone really took General Motors seriously on that. Anyhow, GM and its dealership network actually delivered 696,000 vehicles in the US in the second quarter. That's a 0.6% increase year over year. But keep in mind, GM sales in China have been free falling. So that's kind of meaning that GM in general as a company is shrinking. However, record EV sales in Q2 were, they're a pretty good result, I'd say. 22,000 EV deliveries. That was a 40% increase versus the same quarter of last year and a 34% rise from the first quarter of this year. But General Motors, though, they have been beaten by Ford. So Tesla, of course, still first place in America. Ford, second place. We have an incredible portfolio of diverse vehicles and we're flexible. We can win, more customers embrace EVs, and we can keep winning if they want to stay with the engine technologies they know, said Marissa West. So General Motors, North American president, she said, if they want to stay with the engine technologies they know, if their customers are willing to continue buying GM's engine vehicles, then we can keep winning. But if they buy a lot of our EVs, we won't win. Well, it's true. GM doesn't make profits selling EVs. But that said, GM, their EV sales, to be honest, they're nowhere near what GM said that they would be this year, but they're still a lot better than what some people expected. Myself, I am surprised to see these sales from General Motors. To be honest, I still think the company's a bit of a basket case. But hey, good to see that at least they are doing something, right? Now, intriguingly, General Motors currently sells EVs, including the Cadillac Lyriq, the Chevrolet Blazer, the Chevrolet Bolt. Bolt production has ended, by the way, but there will be a new Bolt in a couple of years' time. The Chevrolet Equinox EV, the Silverado EV, the GMC Hummer EV, and of course, trucks for BrightDrop. So they're making a lot of different models. They just don't produce very many of them. And in my opinion, some of them are probably a little too expensive. For example, the Silverado EV, it's a great pickup. It's a great truck, fantastic truck, in fact, but it's fairly expensive. You're looking at $100,000 now at the moment for one of those. The Lyriq EV was the best EV they sold in the second quarter. Cadillac Lyriq, 7,300 units were delivered. Next was the Blazer EV. Surprising numbers for the Blazer EV after all the negative publicity with journalists saying it was terrible and having so many problems that basically General Motors had to stop the sale of them and recall them all. But anyway, they fixed those issues. Fortunately, it was great and delivered 6,600. So that's a good number. The Hummer EV, 2,929. I hate the Hummer. I don't know why. It's one of those vehicles I don't like. But anyway, at least it's electric. The Silverado EV, 2,196. So surprisingly low deliveries for the Silverado EV. I would have thought more people would buy a Silverado EV versus the Hummer EV. That could be GM's production though. Maybe they're just not making enough of them. The Bolt EV and the Equinox EV, 1,374 Bolts were sold. That's vehicles that have already been produced previously, but they're not making those anymore. So maybe some run-out sales for the Bolt. And of course, like I said, the Equinox EV, 1,013 deliveries. 490 electric vans were delivered. By the end of this year, though, GM says it will have 10 different EVs available. Now, to be fair, General Motors did say in 2023 it would have 18 different models available. So, they'll get there eventually, I guess. One of the vehicles that's coming, we know, is called the Optic EV. Now, GM raised their financial guidance for 2024 to include an anticipated capital expenditure of $11.5 billion. In May, the company went on to detail plans for a $390 million investment into its Fairfax assembly plant to help fund the Chevy Bolt. But I should point out GM are currently spending I believe about $1 billion on their new V8 engines. They'll be improved by 1% or something like that. That's pretty normal for an internal combustion engine. I think that's a bit of a waste of money. And the other thing, guys, that's worth really remembering is this. GM has to succeed in the United States. They have to. If they don't, the company is finished. That's the majority of their sales now are in North America, right? The majority of them. Doesn't really have a space. I mean, General Motors used to sell a lot of cars in China and make a lot of money in China. That's basically over. And it's worth also remembering Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway dumped their General Motors stock a few months ago after more than 10 years of holding GM through thick and thin, through good and bad. They finally got rid of the stock. The question is, why did they do that now of all times? Let me know what you think in the comments. What's the reason? Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.